If you spend any time on YouTube or social media watching film discussions, you have no doubt come across the fact that strong female characters have not been feeling the love lately. The detraction of strong female characters runs the gamut from male writers can't write them, to their inclusion is propaganda, to their overpowered. But it wasn't always this way. For some reason, it seems like strong women protagonists in the past have been removed from our collective cinematic memories. There are great examples of badass women going back decades. Which brings me to my favorite female protagonist of all time, Charli Baltimore from the 1996 released film, The Long Kiss Goodnight. And I'll just say, this movie should have become a franchise. Maybe someone will reboot it and turn it into the series it deserves with another actress. Hint, hint. But I digress. The Long Kiss Goodnight is, in my humble opinion, on the Mount Rushmore of action movies. Not the Mount Rushmore of female-driven action movies, but all action movies. It is the quintessential 90s romp, and if you haven't seen it, you're missing out. It has peak Samuel L. Jackson playing Mitch Hennessy, a grizzled, chain-smoking private detective as only Samuel L. Jackson could play. Everything that comes out of Mitch's mouth is gold. He starts as an in-over-his-head protagonist sidekick that is in it for the money, then for the adventure, and finally grows to be motivated for redemption as his life is a mess of his own making.
Just do one thing right.
Greg Bierko plays the main villain, Timothy, with a sociopathic enthusiasm worthy of the character. His character is your typical 90s action villain. He's flat, he doesn't grow, he's just cold and cool, but like he says,
"You'll feel me."
But this video is about Geena Davis's portrayal of one of the best characters in movie history, Charli Baltimore, aka Samantha Cain. This character simply just works. But why do these older movies, especially The Long Kiss Goodnight, work so well as a female-driven film? Because first, well, Geena Davis. She's just believable as a badass. Geena Davis, at 6 feet tall, just has the stature and natural swagger for this role. She just
takes up more room in the room, you know?
Not to mention, the woman in real life is an Olympic archer. Geena Davis just makes a believable, formidable role. A character that is someone who is absolutely to be reckoned with. There is no suspension of disbelief that when she lands a punch, that punch carried and delivered pain to the recipient. Unlike the more comic book inspired characters of recent years. Next is the character herself, Charli Baltimore. She's not an overpowered juggernaut of a character with no reason to fear anything. She is mortal. She takes her lumps. She can sustain injuries. She can bleed. What makes this character compelling is the fact that she must fight through the pain. She meets adversity head on and has to overcome the challenge with planning, cunning, and ability. She is not simply able to summon some Deus Ex Machina power and basically become unstoppable. Traits of seeming indomitability or acting as if there is nothing to fear are the characteristics of a good villain, the final boss in a video game, not a character that endears itself to the audience. Remember, DC invented kryptonite for this very reason more than 80 years ago. People want to see themselves in the hero, and no one is invincible. We're all works in progress. Next, unlike today, there was no mention of any message in this film. Unlike modern movies, the audience didn't have to be told, hey, women can do this too. Strong female characters in the past were just assumed to be formidable. Baltimore didn't have to remind anyone of her prowess through words or emasculation of the enemy. She let her actions do the talking. She simply dug down deep and fought on and sought no special recognition from the other characters, or more likely the audience. Baltimore did what was needed and dealt with no nonsense. She was able to show weakness and overcome those weaknesses, making the character much more believable and worthy of rooting for from the audience. 80s and 90s movies afforded the audience the ability to plainly celebrate the victory of the hero or heroine and not search for political signaling in order to decide on whether they enjoy the film or not. Modern movies receive a lot of detraction about the modern writer's inability to write strong women, but that's simply not true. Modern writers are simply hamstrung by the same thing that hamstringing everything nowadays, social media. And social media is dominated by the extremes. On the one hand, you have some that automatically hate women in strong roles who by instinct think it's a political statement without giving the film a chance. And then you have the other side that pushes the narrative that women are strong and deserve all the smoke in movies, but then complain when the character is treated like everyone else.